Chiefs Kingdom, welcome in to the latest episode of the AP Film Room on the Arrowhead Pride YouTube page. Obviously, we are live tonight, Tuesday night, on the YouTube page, on Facebook, on Twitter. Appreciate you joining. Appreciate you getting with us. We're going to be talking some ball tonight, as we usually do. Talking about a Chiefs victory once again, second straight week. We get to talk some good vibes and positive vibes after a 41-10 beatdown of the Bears on Sunday afternoon. I am Ron Kopp Jr., the lead analyst at the site. And as always, joining me are Caleb James and Nate Christensen, both great film analysts at the site. Caleb, you are, you're the one, the money man with the intro music, the intro video. So I got to give it to you first. How you feeling tonight?
Doing pretty good. Had a fun chance to go out to the game on Sunday. Always a good time when you get to watch a regional beatdown of kind of another Midwest team. So that's always a fun time.
Yeah, you were at the game, yes, and you joined me on the Out of Structure podcast as well. Make sure people go check that out. He filled in for Stags this week. He already got some takes off. He already got some takes off this week, but Nate has not been able to yet. They've been cooking up in Nate's brain, and he's ready to get them all out here tonight. Nate, how you feeling tonight?
Doing well. It was certainly a stress-free Chief game for the most part. I don't even think there was really any moment. I guess the first drive when they punted was the only time that it felt even in the balance. So that was nice. It's something that you just don't enjoy a lot in the NFL. But it was fun to see for sure.
Yeah, no, you're right. We don't see a lot of comfortable wins. The Chiefs don't get a lot of comfortable wins, honestly, even when they are 12, 13-point favorites, like we've seen them be, like they were on Sunday. There's always that backdoor cover, but not on Sunday. And there's plenty of good stuff to talk about, plenty of good things. But Nate, I am going to have you kick us off tonight because I think he was, the guy you're going to be talking about specifically, had probably one of the most standout games on Sunday for multiple reasons. He was my offensive player of the week, wide receiver Rashod Rice.
So over for Arrowhead Pride this week, I just wrote up a quick film review on Rashod Rice, who had his best day as a professional so far. Played 39 snaps. I believe it was 8 targets, 7 catches for 68 yards. I believe I have that right. But it was a productive day for him overall. And kind of what I wrote the article about was when I was doing a little bit of a statistical dive before I wrote the piece was, one thing about Rashod Rice is he's playing a lot more in the slot as a rookie at SMU last year in like 800 snaps. He played like 135 snaps in the slot. So it was around like 10 to 15% of his snaps. This year for the Chiefs, in the 72 snaps he's played, 42 have come from the slot. So that's around 55%. So the Chiefs are starting to formulate some roles, which I'll kind of cover when I finish this. But to play in the slot, there's some essential skills you have to have, which I kind of wrote about, and I'll show that with some of these clips. The first one is just blocking. There's really 2 ways to be a good run threat from the slot. You either have to be a great vertical threat to where teams have to switch the way they play their safeties against you, or you have to be a good blocker. And Rashod's never going to be the guy to take the top off of defense, but he can certainly be a very good blocker. On this clip, he is more on the outside compared to being on the slot, but they're going to be kind of running this like counter, kind of like wind back, like following this like sift block. He's going to be working to this will linebacker right here, just setting a nice good edge, using his body, which gives Pacheco kind of a lane to kind of hit this all the way front side. This is just excellent blocking, nothing crazy, but it's using his size, understanding his blocking assignment, getting there quickly. This is an encouraging thing to see, especially since week 1, Rashod was a bad run blocker. But it wasn't just the run blocking that was impressive. It's actually more about what Rashod did as a kind of zone identifier that really kind of stood out for a guy in the slot. And what I kind of wrote about in the article is that if you want to play in slot in the NFL, you just got to have kind of have a mind meld with your quarterback. And Rashod, for a rookie, does seem to have some sort of recognition on this. So on this play, Kelsey's going to kind of just run like the clear, like the vertical. And Rice is going to kind of run this like slant just kind of right underneath it. And the Bears are just going to sit in spot drop. And the Bears are a really bad spot drop defense. They're going to be kind of just playing this like Tampa 2. And the linebacker just runs the pull. But you kind of just see like Rice just sit right down in the open hole, quickly recognize the hole, present himself as a target. And he's due for a touchdown. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns that should have been there. He was just right at the last second at the 1-inch yard line that he wasn't able to get those. But yeah, that was something that I think almost all of his catches on Sunday were basically just him like recognizing zones, which is an encouraging thing. The Chiefs aren't having him. I'll pull this last clip up. They're not having him like run this super dynamic route tree from the slot because even though I think Rashid's agility concerns are overstated, he's definitely not like the best like quick turner, decelerator, or anything like that. But this is a play that shows that they do trust him against like linebackers 101. So the Chiefs are going to run kind of what's called Haas Juke, which is a play that the Patriots ran for years and years for Wes Welker and Julian Edelman, which is basically that these outside receivers on both sides are just going to run like they're just going to fake like a screen. Both these slot receivers inside are just going to run the fade. And really like the primary kind of read of this play is this kind of little like juke or shake route that Rice is going to run versus the linebacker, especially since this is from empty. And like, this isn't like the craziest route you're ever going to see, but like, you kind of just see that, being able to kind of stop, plant off like your outside foot and kind of run right after that. This is a pretty good setup for the most part. Rice is, the thing about Rice coming back into the draft was that people thought he was just some like big stiff athlete. And I never really saw that when I watched him. Like, he's definitely not the most like fluid athlete. You wouldn't want him running like Wes Welker routes, but he can like turn a little bit. Like he explodes out of his brakes so well for the most part. So yeah, there's more clips in the articles, so you have to go check that out. But I think kind of the main thing I said was the first 2 weeks of the season, the Chiefs didn't feel like they had their roles for the receivers well. But it feels like the Chiefs, obviously MVS's role is pretty well established as the outside vertical guy. But I think one thing I've, at least in my opinion, I've learned is that Sky Moore's like best trait is his ability to get off the line of scrimmage. And his like release packages is by far his best skill right now. And I would argue one of his worst skills actually is separating at the top of the routes, because I don't think he's the most like fluid athlete. But if you can get Rice, and also he's not a very good, this is Sky Moore, he's not a great possession receiver because he doesn't have a large catch radius, which we've seen
right
to start the year. But if you can have him on the outside and run these outside routes, beating man coverage, that's something that he's proven he's been able to do the past 2 weeks. And having Rice kind of fill this big vacant void in the slot that I think the Chiefs wanted Kadarius Toney to fill, but Kadarius Toney hasn't exactly proven to be a good possession receiver, to say the least. But Rice seems to be able to fill that role. He's got the body type. He has the zone recognition skills. And while it kind of curbs the trend of Andy Reid rookie wide receivers, the Chiefs need someone to play in the slot. And if it's Rice being the best kind of possession outlet, he's going to get snaps and opportunities that most rookie receivers just don't get.
I really like how you broke down the receiver room right there, because I've been thinking about it too. Like, who does kind of get sacrificed in the slot there? It makes sense that you get scared that Sky Moore might kind of lose snaps, but he just needs to be worked in a different situation, like you mentioned, maybe playing the Z more, the traditional Z spot more, just being on the outside more, even on the line of scrimmage as the X at times, instead of, like you said, being in the slot. The thing about Rashid though, the acceleration, man, like getting upfield, how quickly he's getting upfield, Caleb. Like, I don't know, like that's what made it. He looked like Sammy Watkins to me on Sunday in a lot of ways, and I think Andy Reid and the coaching staff sees that, and that's why you're seeing them get the ball in his hands, Caleb. I don't know. What did you see from Rashid Rice so far this year?
Nate, I love that you brought up, that like everyone thought he was like a big, stiff, like jump ball receiver, because I thought one of my favorite things for him coming out was his yak. They just didn't really let him run like a ton underneath at SMU. But in the Chiefs offense out of the slot, that's kind of a little untapped area where they are going to look to exploit at people at. And I think just having another athlete underneath, like you do see like maybe some of those Sammy Watkins type glimpses when he's coming underneath and he catches the ball and, he's got a little wiggle and shake to the way he runs. So the other thing I thought about him, though, that I liked, he's really physical when he does have the ball in his hands. I mean, he was fighting to get into the end zone when they were stopping him short on those plays. I mean, he took some big hits. So, he's not going to go in there and let people push him around. He's already there physically for what you're wanting to see from an NFL receiver as far as that standpoint.
Yeah, well, one like last thing is like when you watched Rashid Rice at SMU, if you watched like the Maryland game, it would like destroy like your conception of what he actually is as a player, because in the Maryland game was when he was like just mossing like Jacorian Bennett and Deontay Banks, and he caught like 8 contested catches. But like if you actually watch a lot of Rashid Rice in college, he was like a slot receiver. He was this like zone leverage identifier that didn't like, it wouldn't show up in his best highlights, but that's actually like what he is as a player. And I was a little bit worried that like the Chiefs were going to kind of pencil him in as this like outside receiver, but his worst skill right now is beating press. He's not good at getting off the line of scrimmage, but his best skill is kind of identifying underneath coverage. But that's fine. The Chiefs actually like very much need that role within this offense since Juju Smith-Schuster is gone.
Right. And I think there's something to Sky having that acceleration, right? You know, in the combine testing, they both have very good 10-yard dash splits, but you can see that Rasheed's kind of getting upfield after catching the ball, and just his movement upfield is just a little different. And I think that's, like you're saying, that's what they really value in, beating zone coverage, those tight windows, getting the ball quickly, getting upfield before they crash in on you. So it's really interesting. I'm excited to see Rasheed's role continue to grow. Caleb, you're going to take us to the other side of the ball, though. We got linebackers to talk about, another very intriguing position so far this year.
Yeah, and I thought it was particularly interesting this week because it was the first time we saw this group without Nick Bolton. And, we all have our opinions about Nick Bolton and the things he does, but he is still a captain of the defense. And anytime you're taking away, a guy that's making between 8 and 12 tackles a game, there's going to be some sort of, it's going to make some sort of an impact. But I'll start out with Drew Tranquil, because I thought just seeing him kind of fill in, flawlessly as that Mike linebacker was a lot of fun. And you see him up here. The Chiefs kind of ran this little odd front, to kind of match the Bears run game early. And you see Tranquil there on the left end. And really, and real quick, with some of these clips I'm going to show, you're going to be very apparent the Bears are a very bad offensive football team. Not trying to take away from the linebackers because they just went in there and did what they had to do. But you see just quick reaction there. Tranquil comes downhill, makes the tackle. It's just kind of a modified little odd front. Nate, you talked about it last week, kind of like a mint front type. We kind of saw it transfer over a little bit this week. I thought it was kind of to maybe stop some of the zone read game here and there, just giving the Bears a lot of different looks. You see that athleticism off the ball from Tranquil, though. He comes down to make the tackle. He is at the mic here, and you can just see he's got good range. He's very fluid athletically, getting lateral there. It's probably about a 4-yard pickup, so it's not too crazy by him. But we come down here, and he just reads the ball, makes his read, gets over the top of everyone, sure tackle to finish the play. He just looks real smooth. And then lined up here, he is going to be blitzing. And then he kind of drops back and the pocket starts to collapse. Fields does get away, but you see he was ready for it. Just real good closing speed right there. And I thought one of the things the Chiefs defense did this week was they just mixed it up so much because, Fields was confused. He's obviously not really trusting his coaching, and the Chiefs took advantage of that. They just threw him a bunch of different looks to where he wouldn't even, really trust himself because he's dropping back. The Chiefs have guys for both check downs, and then Tranquil just does a nice job to close it in. Shout out Mike Dana, continuing to have a great season there. We'll see here, he put that guy on his back. You'll see that here in just a second, but I think the thing is, in the past without Nick Bolton, I'd have been a little worried that the Chiefs linebackers would have gotten picked apart and there, would be a lack of that experienced Mike in there. But with Tranquil in there, they just felt so comfortable that they could still function as a defense. And that's an important thing to be able to have that kind of, to be able to have that kind of depth at a position, where he is an integral part of what Spags wants to do. And I included this on here, it's a pretty decent sized gain from Fields, but Tranquil's kind of following around. He's looking for the check down, making sure, but then you see, some of that speed and acceleration. That's a real impressive play he makes to go chase down a really athletic quarterback there. So I thought, and Tranquil led the team in tackles this game. So I thought that it was just a all-around good performance by him. We get into it now, and I'll go ahead and show Willie Gay. And I feel like Willie Gay's getting left out a little bit, but he had a good showing this week. Just kind of, he was just playing in a lot of the Chiefs did run a lot of base defense this week, so they got Willie involved. I'm sure that if Tranquil had, had some issues early on, they probably would have got Willie in there pretty quickly since he did have the experience. But the Bears were just going to try to pick on, the weak side of the Chiefs here, but Willie does a good job. Derek Nottie takes on a couple of blockers there. Willie just read and react quickly. He goes in there and blows it up for the loss on the play. It's just a good heads-up play when they're trying to pick on that side of the field. Willie had a couple of decent pass rushes also where they had him in space. And the reason I highlighted both of these guys for some of our viewers is you'll see here real quickly, the Chiefs have high safety. They've got a receiver in the slot. They've got Willie over the tight end. Bears kind of play themselves. They motion their tight end to the side where the Chiefs have extra bodies. But now you've got an outside linebacker, a guy in the slot, and I believe that's Justin Reed. And then you've got your deep safety. Well, and you don't have another tight end on this side. So there's someone might be coming because you have enough bodies over there to account for stuff. And Willie sure does come. Fields doesn't see it until the very last second. And, Mike Dana gets rewarded by finishing the play with a sack. But, this is one of the ways that we think they can use Willie, where we've seen him kind of taken off the field a little bit, but they sure gave him some chances to blitz. And I thought this was his best play of the day. They just run this toss to the outside. Instead of penetrating early, Willie stays wide. He sets the edge. He forces everything back inside. Good team football on that play to set up his teammate. And then it is time for Mr. Chenal. He put together another good game, and he is just kind of a freak athlete. You see here, he's coming downhill, and he absolutely chucks Darnell Wright out of the play to put himself in, and he's probably outweighed by that guy by 70 pounds. Out leverages him, hips him, and then throws him back. Good job by Tranquil to hop in there also. And just a different angle of that play, just so you can see kind of, he's doing the thing he did at Wisconsin, just kind of run blitz in there, but he's throwing guys out of the way, being real physical. But he's also real quick because Justin Reed's tried to pull that ball, and he was right there on the outside. That is some serious short area quickness. We'll run that back real quick. But he makes the nice read. He sees that Fields is getting ready to pull it, and he immediately heads to the outside. He's got him completely cut off, and Fields just has to run the other direction and kind of get out of the way there. So it was a good job by the Chiefs linebackers. They were definitely ready for the zone read game. They were ready for Fields to want to run the ball, and they just didn't give him anything. Fields has to run back all the way to the other side. And on this play, it's just one of those plays that's kind of a disaster for the Bears. But like you'll see here in the end zone where Leo's lined up, like at first he's thinking maybe this is a tight end screen or some sort of a running back leak, because you see the tight end like quickly turns his back like they're letting guys upfield, but then it's just kind of a mess because the Bears are bad. So he just kind of decides to say, well, I'm going to go get this guy. And you can see that closing speed he has to close in on Fields there and make sure it's a bad throw. So he stacked another good week on top of a good week. And this was a game that we figured, they might go with a lot of base defense just because we thought that they might be wanting to take away the Bears' run. But it was just a beat down, and I thought the linebackers played a nice role in that.
Absolutely. No, it was cool to see Tranquil step in flawlessly for the most part. Leo still being Leo. Nate, before we move on, I know you have thoughts on the linebacker group. How are you feeling about them? And as we go into a Zach Wilson week where they may have another week to shine here.
Yeah, I thought actually I would just read the stat I pulled yesterday. I tweeted it out, but it's a small sample, so just to note that. But the Chiefs in the past have struggled in their base defense because when you're in base defense, it simplifies your calls because you don't want your linebackers covering like slot receivers. And that's always kind of been an area to attack Spags, but that's not been an area this year. Through 48 snaps of just regular base defense, not the 3-3-5 stuff because that's its own entity. The Chiefs are giving up negative 0.15 EPA per snap. For reference, in 2022, it was 0.16. It was actually the same in 2021 with 0.16. And in 2020 and 2019, they were right around just like 0.0. But that's like a significant improvement. They're now like functionally winning on base downs, which is something that they just have not done in the Spagnuolo era, especially these past 2 years. And why that's really difficult is teams really like to get into 12, 21, and 13 versus the Chiefs and run the football. But if they're not able to do that, it gets a lot easier for Spags to play nickel on second and long, dime on second and long, third and long, get into more advantageous positions. So the Chiefs right now are dictating more of what kind of they want downs wise, personnel wise than they have in years past. And I think it's made a big difference. I think over the course of the season, if they can sustain what they're doing at a base, teams are just going to stop running into heavy boxes if it's not, or into heavier personnel if it's not working. So that's been an encouraging sign. It's something I'm monitoring moving forward.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. And it's just always the early down defense that is always, with Spagnuolo, it's like, if they can get to late downs, great, because that's where he's going to be, the Mad Hatter is going to, really, create chaos and confusion. But, if you don't get to third down because your base defense is giving up, big chunk plays on first down or, all that. So it is a good point. And yeah, I quote tweeted your tweet with the Thanos meme. I mean, Spags with an early down defense. I mean, that's, all of a sudden we're cooking. We're really cooking here. All right, let's end here with another offensive topic here. We're going to be talking about Patrick Mahomes, kind of looking maybe a little more comfortable on Sunday, even though it wasn't still his greatest game. It was nice to see the get right game for the offense, right? It was nice to see 7 straight possessions scoring. That was definitely, Chiefs football. And it was just nice to see, Mahomes just look a little more confident going to Travis Kelce, because obviously he's having some issues with other guys throwing to them in terms of confidence, in terms of comfortability. And it's because of, things like, receivers not settling into zones like he maybe expects them to, or, just maybe not running routes with the great timing. One play that, you didn't show, Nate, with Rashid, but obviously, was kind of a significant play from Sunday. That 3 and out, the first drive, they're getting Rashid involved right away, right? He's running that dig route on the third down, and he just and I think you pointed out on Twitter, you did a good job of saying that. I think he did see him maybe looking at Kelce and kind of just expected the ball to go to Kelce beneath him, so he maybe settles in his route or stops his route a little, prematurely. Ball goes off his hands, incomplete. But again, it's just stuff like that that's kind of happened all season. We've all seen. It was nice to see Kelce kind of maybe help Mahomes get a little more comfortable and trust, find a guy you can actually trust, to beat these zone coverages. This play is a play action shot out of 12 personnel. They're going to be getting three vertical routes going deep. Bears are going to have a 1 high look, so it's going to be kind of a cover three coverage look. So what that means is you're going to have a deep corner right here. He's going to be have this third of the field. You're going to have a middle safety this third of the field, but you're going to have a flat defender here that when all this happens, he should be gaining depth and kind of trailing Kelce to kind of be that underneath coverage to kind of take him away under. And so that this cover 3 corner has the over the top, and it really makes it a hard throw for Mahomes, and it makes it a deeper throw, right? He, eventually this cover 3 corner has to decide between MVS on this curl route or Travis running vertical. That's what Mahomes would eventually read. But what happens is Kelce can feel that this flat defender right here, he's not really doing his job. He kind of gets sucked in a little bit, doesn't really gain depth. And so Kelce just kind of sits down. He's just going to chill. And then Mahomes recognizes it. And that's why you see it's kind of an awkward little throw and catch, right? You see Mahomes kind of throw it, off, while he's running, not really in the timing of the play. You see Kelce kind of, you can tell that he's not, he's just kind of settling in, right? He's not necessarily, running full speed into his route, because that's not, he's feeling the coverage and settling into the best zone to get an easy completion and keep the chains moving. If it wasn't Travis Kelce, if this was maybe just like a Noah Gray running this route, he may just take off, and sprint up the sideline as fast as possible, not really thinking about, okay, is this flat defender really giving me, chased right here? Because, if he isn't, like he's not here, it is a nice little turn and completion. So this was one example. Another good example from Sunday was a big completion on third down over the middle. We're going to see the Bears come out again in a 1 high look. And that's one thing. I just questionable decisions going too much 1 high against the Chiefs, but Bears being the Bears. A little third down action here. It's going to turn into a smash concept type where you're going to have the quick out route, and then Kelce's going to be running the corner. And with a cover 3 look, you're going to have that cornerback on the outside have this deep third, right? So he has to choose between, kind of defending soft and kind of defending vertical, or playing hard on the receiver and allowing this to kind of be more open. He plays soft, right? He bails, and he's bailing, and Mahomes can see that. And so This should technically, on 3rd and 3, this is 3rd and 3. Technically, this is easy money. Boom, I'm hitting MBS right here, right? This is a first down. We're moving. Because, again, he's reading that corner. If he's hard on MBS, you're throwing to Kelce on the corner route. If he's soft like he is here, it should just be a quick, easy throw to MBS. Well, Mahomes, being Mahomes, he just wants to throw to Kelce. So, and it works out because Kelce doesn't just blindly run his corner route, right? He settles once he passes that second level defender. He settles and sits into his zone before that cover 3 corner. He's not running right into him. He's settling before he can get there. And Mahomes knows he will. Like he does. Like he anticipates this happening, even though, and obviously with so much experience between them, I'm sure this exact situation has happened plenty of times where, yeah, hey, he can see that the soft corner is coming, but he still needs to be available to make a play. So he's going to turn and just cut off the route a little quicker. And this is a first down and great placement on the throw too by Mahomes. But just to me, a good example again of a receiver really manipulating his zones correctly. And just Kelce's a special player. Obviously you can't expect this kind of, just technician and just, being able to manipulate zone defenders like this. Again, the Bears cover Kelce up on this. This shouldn't be open on a corner route like this against a cover 3 corner playing soft like that. But the Chiefs are going to be the Chiefs, and that's what happens here. So Chiefs get the first down here. And then it was just cool to see, we'll finish off here, just in the red zone, Mahomes looking towards Kelce. He missed him here on this one, actually a couple times, which was kind of funny. Kelce does a great job of pressing his defender here. It's man coverage, I believe, pressing his defender here and then snapping it off right at the goal line, right? He's open. If you're following where Kelce was, he's open right at the goal line, right? Mahomes doesn't trigger, and he may not have been looking right exactly that way, but, he maybe should have anticipated it better. But then he goes for Kelce, on the other side of Tremaine Edmonds right here. And look how he does it. Little no-look action. Misses him. But again, it's nice to see the confidence in Mahomes hitting those kind of windows right there. This is a very confident Mahomes throw. Again, wish he would have made it. But obviously what he's doing right here with his eyes, right, is he's holding Tremaine Edmonds, the linebacker. He wants to throw it to the other side over here. But if he looks over there, Edmonds is going to follow him. So he's going to keep his eyes right here. Edmonds is going to anticipate him throwing to the right and try to break it off. Boom, he's thrown to the left. Could have been a touchdown, missed him. But he did get him on this play. And again, just a nice little layered throw here. Actually a similar route here by Kelce, except he's not sitting originally. He's just going straight for the post. He creates a separation at the top of the route by really hitting that last outside action. Boom, right here. Really helps him kind of create that initial separation from the zone defender. Not allowing him to kind of, hug him a little more here. And then Mahomes puts it over the top of Edmonds, which again, this is just confidence. This is just, feeling good about what you're doing, who you're throwing to. We need to see more of this from Mahomes and not just the Travis Kelce. It'd be nice to see it from other receivers too. But again, we'll take Kelce. It was nice. I really do think Travis Kelce's, his just impact in the game was a huge part of the reason why they kind of got things going again. So I don't know, any other things from the offense Sunday that you were encouraged by, guys, or just the running game, Travis Kelce? What else we got, Nate?
I mean, this was a perfect recipe game. The Bears are a very, very heavy spot drop team, and they're not a rotation team. So you know what you're getting any snap you line up. So when you have the mind meld of Kelce and Mahomes, it's just going to create havoc all day. So yeah, I don't know how much of it is very, carrying over, but it's still good to see, right? It's confidence, right? It's seeing your shot go in the basket. So that's something that hopefully can translate moving forward.
Man, it's such a good point about the Bears, though. I mean, it was ridiculous, just allowing themselves to get beat as much as they were. So you're right. It is a very, an important point with a really good Jets defense coming up, seeing if they can kind of continue this. Caleb, any final thoughts on the Chiefs offense?
That was just like the get right game. But let's kind of regroup. Let's go put a bunch of points on a bad defense because we do have to play a good defense next week. But I mean, I thought it was just a good balanced performance. They did go to Kelce and Rice a lot, but they fed everyone else too. The running game was good. The only real negative thing you can take away from the offense was the whole Jawan Taylor situation.
Yeah.
And, we discussed that at great length yesterday. I think on Tuesday now there's not much else to be said. We've seen all the screenshots everyone else has taken from the other games of how the other tackles aligned. So, that was really the only negative thing you could even take away from, the game on Sunday.
Well, there might be one other thing before we get out of here. David Esk on Facebook, appreciate you watching tonight with us. He had to ask us, are you guys concerned about the backup quarterback position after Blaine Gabbert's performance last week? I guess, Caleb, that is, I guess, another negative thing. Our backup quarterback comes in, throws 2 picks. Any thoughts there? Should they give Buechele? Should they try to trade for Buechele again?
Well, I think one of those was a play where Rashod Rice should have made.
Yeah.
The other one was just Blaine Gabbert forcing something. I'd like to think that if they had Blaine in more of a high leverage situation, they'd be a little smarter about how they utilized him. I think they just kind of let him go out there, and they said, have fun, do whatever. Just don't wreck the car. And he almost did wreck the car. But
he tried.
I'm not horribly concerned because at the end of the day, if 1-5 goes down for a long period of time, it's probably not going to be an optimal result for the team anyway.
Any thoughts, Nate?
Yeah, I always think of this quote. It was from Tom Moore, who used to be the offensive coordinator for Peyton Manning. And I won't say the full thing because this is family friendly, but he was saying, if 18 goes down, we're screwed, and we don't practice screwed. And that's always been my philosophy. If Patrick Mahomes ever got hurt, it doesn't matter. The season's over. I think the Jets are a perfect representation of this. So, they could maybe acquire a different backup quarterback. I've never been the biggest Blaine Gabbert guy, but ultimately it doesn't really matter. If there's a situation where the Chiefs need a drive out of Blaine Gabbert, similar to Chad Henne, I think he can produce a drive. But yeah, if Blaine Gabbert has to start a stretch of games or play a half in a playoff game, that's obviously concerning, but I don't think there's any reason. Shane Buechele wouldn't alleviate that either. That's just kind of the way the Chiefs built their team, and that's fine. That's how everyone builds their team.
Yeah, I will say with Gabbert, he can be a little gunslingerish, little too much for a backup quarterback, and that's the thing with Chad Henne. I feel like he kind of, he got down what he needed to do. But Chad Henne ain't walking through that door. So Blaine Gabbert's going to be the backup quarterback. And yeah, I think there were definitely some times Henne didn't look very good, in times in the past too. So they're backup quarterbacks for a reason, guys. So the rest of the team will elevate them if they need to. Appreciate the question though, David. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate everybody watching and listening. Make sure you're following all of us on Twitter. Make sure you're following the site. We're going to get out of here at that note, but we will be back next week talking Chiefs Jets. Hopefully another victory. You'd really hope so. Losing to the Zach Wilson Jets, we'd have a lot of things to talk about here. But for now, for Caleb, for Nate, I'm Ron. Appreciate you watching, and we will catch you next time.